Attending a college reunion with my girlfriend, someone asked about our wedding date, but her ex coldly cut them off. Hearing this, Ava actually seemed relieved. Everyone held their breath and looked at me, expecting some kind of reaction, but I just smiled calmly and raised my glass. Since the mood is right here, why don't you two kiss and officially announce you're back together? 1. Attending a university reunion with my girlfriend, someone asked when we were getting married. I haven't thought about it yet. There's no rush, Eva is still young. The moment those words were spoken, the attention of everyone in the room turned to me, because the people who had just answered differently were my girlfriend of 7 years, and her ex-boyfriend. Some bystanders who enjoyed stirring up trouble laughed and teased, "Buddy, you're such a saint, how can you even tolerate this?" Everyone was waiting for the show to unfold, yet I remained like an outsider, watching coldly, even having the leisure to slowly cut my steak. When silence persisted, I delicately wiped the grease from my hands and looked at Ava with mild amusement, a faint smile playing at the corners of my lips. Such perfect harmony, truly a match made in heaven. I invite everyone to raise your glasses together, wishing them everlasting love and eternal happiness. Ava's face turned pale, then flushed with anger. Clenching her teeth, she whispered a warning to me, "What's gotten into you today? With so many people watching, don't go too far." I knew exactly why Ava was angry. Like a kite in her grasp, we had been together for 7 years, with barely enough heated disagreements to count on one hand, let alone striking back so mercilessly as I did today. Ava didn't understand why I treated her this way, but she seemed to have forgotten that disappointment accumulates gradually. At the beginning of last month, it was my 25th birthday. I booked a restaurant in advance and waited downstairs at Ava's company with excitement, wanting to surprise her, but she claimed to be working overtime, having completely forgotten my birthday. Yet I clearly saw her boarding an Uber with Liam, laughing and chatting, their destination being a hotel. They even booked a king-size room. The April weather was caught between warmth and chill, and I sat downstairs for a long time, hoping the cold wind would dry out the foolish thoughts in my head. She never came back until late at night. In the vast apartment, I sat alone in the living room. Staring at the nearly burnt-out candle on the cake, I made a birthday wish. Happy birthday. Like every year, once again I'm celebrating alone. By the time Ava returned, the sky was faintly glowing with dawn. I don't know what she had to feel guilty about, but when she bumped into me head-on, her eyes were shifty and she kept retreating in fright. "Why aren't the lights on? Are you trying to scare me on purpose? Who did you meet tonight? You're actually following me?" I was probing with answers already in mind, but Eva turned the tables, accusing me of paranoia before slamming a thick stack of documents in my face. "Liam and I were discussing business. You're always so suspicious of me, must you make everything this ugly?" Her emotions ran so deep that tears even welled up. Suddenly, I became the one at fault, stuck between a rock and a hard place. My gaze darkened, a bitter smile failing to reach my eyes. "It's my birthday today." Eva froze for a moment before glancing down at the cake in the trash bin. Back to normal in an instant. "There's been too much going on lately, I forgot. I'll make it up to you with a gift later." Though mere inches apart, an invisible wall seemed to stand between us, suffocating everyone beneath its weight. Ava and I were college classmates. Back then, I was the one who pursued her. So naturally, this unequal relationship of ours was repaid with endless compromises on my part. She had grown accustomed to my unconditional concessions. Even when she was the one at fault, she would still wait for me to apologize first. The evening after our class reunion, Ava sent the first text message. The sudden glow flashing on my phone screen illuminated the dim night, yet it couldn't light up my heart. "I'll pick you up after work tonight. I booked a restaurant." She was throwing me a lifeline, but I no longer wanted to be her lapdog dancing to her tune. 2. After work, I deliberately arrived a bit late. The appointment was set for 8, but it's now past 9:30, and Ava still hasn't shown up. No answer to calls, no replies to messages. She's fallen back into that familiar state of being unreachable. The waiter kept bringing the menu, urging me again and again. The restaurant was practically empty. They were about to close. I gripped my knife and fork, staring blankly at the cold steak as I finished the meal alone. When paying the bill, I accidentally caught sight of an Instagram post, its contents glaringly painful. Turns out today was the company team building event where partners could be invited. Ava had brought Liam, and under a sky full of fireworks they embraced like a couple deeply in love. The caption reads, "This moment is everything." Humans truly are creatures prone to forgetting. This applies to me, and to Ava as well. She seems to have forgotten why Liam abandoned her in the first place. Those soul-scarring moments might have faded from her memory, but I've remembered them for her all this time. Come to think of it, every time Ava broke her date, it was related to Liam. Last month, he sprained his ankle. Last week, he was in a bad mood and needed company. She's used up all the excuses, and this time Ava's reason was, "It happened so suddenly, and I didn't want to disrupt your work, so I invited Liam instead." It's strange, this time my heart remained completely calm, not feeling the slightest bit of sadness. After returning home, I directly moved my things to the guest room. While sound asleep, I heard Ava open the door and come in. She leaned over beside me, her hair lightly brushing against my cheek, her tone soft and somewhat tentative. Are you angry? I ignored her, feeling more annoyed instead. Eva stood frozen in place, staring at me blankly for a long time, finally sniffing loudly, as if deliberately letting me hear her sobs. I couldn't understand it. No interrogation, no argument, not even the usual stubborn refusal while waiting for me to plead for reconciliation. Eva should be happy now. Who's she putting on this pitiful act for? Could it be she wants me to feel heartbroken for her again? To kneel and apologize like before, begging for forgiveness? I can't do it, not now, and certainly not ever again. The next day, while I was still brushing my teeth in the bathroom, I heard Ava's voice grumbling in complaint. She lifted the pot lid and rushed over to demand why I hadn't made breakfast. I continued packing my things indifferently, refusing to spare her even a single glance. Ava, you have hands of your own. Over the past few years, she had carried herself like some lofty goddess, serenely accepting everything I gave without a second thought. It was out of care for her that I willingly took on the cooking duties. Yet she became Liam's personal chef with such willing devotion, smiling through even scalded hands without complaint. I had long grown weary of this existence. Life no longer revolving around her proved unexpectedly liberating. I worked overtime for a whole week, then rushed to the library after work to study for the CPA exam. With a pass rate of only 20%, I hadn't opened a textbook in ages, rushing home after work to cook instead, and had forgotten everything I'd learned before. Coincidentally, a new intern named Haley was also preparing for the CPA. She lived like a ray of sunshine, brimming with energy and drive. I humbly sought Haley's guidance. She generously printed study materials for me and patiently tutored me through the toughest concepts. Haley and I stepped out of the company building just as a torrential downpour began outside. She hadn't brought an umbrella, so out of politeness, I offered to walk her home. As we approached an intersection, Ava suddenly called me out of the blue. Her tone was uncharacteristically cold, like a glacier that no amount of warmth could ever melt. Where are you at this late hour? And who's that person in the car with you? Without hesitation, I hung up the phone. When I got home, I ignored her interrogation entirely and went straight into the guest room. But Ava barged in furiously, blocking my way, looking and sounding exactly like a shrew. What exactly is your relationship with that woman? Haley and I are just co-workers. I gave her a ride home simply out of politeness. Must you always be so paranoid and make things so awkward? Those déjà vu words left Ava rooted to the spot, unsure how to react. How the tables had turned. Only when that boomerang struck her did Ava finally feel the pain. If there's nothing else, please move aside. I need to sleep. Eva merely opened her mouth, unable to utter a single word. I pushed her away coldly and deftly locked the door. The next morning, I wasn't awakened by the alarm clock, but by the thick smoke that came rolling in from outside. When I opened the door, the kitchen was already in complete chaos. Eva, looking utterly disheveled, was waving a spatula while frantically trying to clean up the battlefield. What are you doing? Trying to set the kitchen on fire? Being woken up is unpleasant enough, let alone having to clean up her mess in the process. My voice unintentionally carried a hint of anger, making Ava so upset she was nearly in tears. She raised her swollen fingers, looking at me with pathetic puppy dog eyes. I specifically got up early to make you breakfast and even hurt myself in the process. Can you really be this heartless? What else? Did you expect me to swallow my pride and apologize like before, pretending nothing happened? I ignored her, quickly washed up, gathered my things, and left for work. Just as I reached the ground floor and was worrying about not being able to hail a cab, Ava came running after me. Wait for me a moment. I'll get the car. Let me drive you to work today. No need to bother. I can take the subway there. Ethan, Ava suddenly called out to me, that's your car too. How can you call it a bother? I really should thank her for reminding me. Even someone like me, the fool who shelled out the money, almost forgot, let alone that car was purchased outright by me. After graduation, we had just arrived in this city to make our way. Ava always complained about the long commute, saying all her colleagues got picked up and dropped off by car, everyone except her. I didn't want her to feel wronged, so I took the initiative to buy her a car registered under her name. For this, I spent 3 full years repaying the car loan, scrimping and saving every day, stretching each penny until it screamed. Yet all my efforts only earned a single thank you from Ava. She used that car to pick Liam up from the airport when he returned home, to take him back to their hometown, and to bring him home from the hospital. And I, the one who paid for the car, have ridden in it only a handful of times. Seeing that I was about to be late for work, since Ava had offered, I stopped hesitating and opened the back door to get in. Ava gripped the steering wheel tightly, stealing glances at me in the rearview mirror from time to time. Let me tell you, my mom got into another fight with my aunt, and she wants me to referee. They're opening a food plaza near our place. Let's check it out together after you finish work. Ethan, are you upset? No. I just kept my head down reading, responding absent-mindedly. After a while, she lost interest herself and closed her mouth resentfully. Only after watching me enter the company did Ava finally make up her mind and speak from the car window. Ethan, I'll pick you up after work today. I barely hesitated at all. No need. For 4 years, not a single promise Ava made had ever been kept, 7 years without exception. For instance, she volunteered to pick me up from work, but even after I'd already taken the metro home, there was still no sign of her. The spacious apartment was completely empty, yet I oddly found the solitude peaceful. Just as I was preparing to rest, an unfamiliar text message popped up on my phone. The backdrop was a neon-lit bar, where Ava, her cheeks flushed crimson, lay drunkenly collapsed in Liam's arms. "She's drunk, I'll take care of her tonight. Just letting you know." The dim light only illuminated half of Liam's face, but I could still see the provocation in his eyes. He's always like this, finding every possible way to provoke me, confident that I'll argue with Ava. The day she finally loses patience with me, she'll naturally throw herself wholeheartedly into his arms. However, this time I had no interest in engaging with him. Like lid to pot, trash belongs in the bin. Looking at their affectionate photos felt like watching someone else's story. It wasn't until the next morning before heading out that Ava finally stumbled back home with dark circles under her eyes. She immediately explained to me, "Ethan, I drank too much yesterday." I interrupted her, not even wanting to hear the rest, feeling nothing but annoyance. "No need to explain to me. I'm going to work. Do as you please." The phone lay on the table, buzzing with a new message every 5 minutes on average. Without exception, all were messages from Ava. Frowning, I decisively turned on Do Not Disturb, utterly perplexed by her recent peculiar behavior. Was Ava proactively sharing her daily life with me? In the past, that had always been my role. Even when her messages disappeared into the void, she remained tirelessly enthusiastic. For a fleeting moment, I swore I saw a shadow of my former self reflected in her. Once, Ava pretended to be too busy, setting my messages to mute, while being ever responsive to Liam, pinning his chat window at the top. The difference between love and indifference couldn't be clearer. Unfortunately, Ava realized it too late. By the time she wanted to make amends, my desire to share with her had already burned out. With the CPA exam date approaching, Haley printed her admission ticket and thoughtfully made several photocopies for me as well. "Here, now you won't lose it," I said to her while thanking her, and proceeded to teach her a few problems in return. Haley rested her chin on her hand, tilting her head to look at me, admiration sparkling in her eyes. "Wow, Ethan, you're amazing. You started learning a month later than me, and yet you figured it all out on your own. Are you some reincarnated genius or what?" "It's not that impressive," I replied. As closing time approached, I smiled, closed the book, and started packing up for the library. Haley smirked mischievously and suddenly blocked my path. "Ethan, there's a company dinner tonight, you should join us." "I still need to go to the library." "You guys go ahead and have fun, don't mind me." "Come on, you're already married to your books. Stop grinding and take a break, just one meal, that's all." She lightly tugged on my sleeve, pouting and shaking it side to side. I couldn't withstand her persistent pleading and, breaking all precedent, agreed to the dinner gathering. A colleague nearby joined in the teasing. "Wow, only Haley has the face to invite Ethan, such an eminent Buddha." Laughter and conversation flowed uninterrupted throughout the journey. I gazed out the window at the dazzling, neon-lit world outside, lost in a daze by myself. When had it begun? I had already become disconnected from the outside world, returning home to busy myself immediately after work, turning into something of a house husband. It was probably during Ava's complaints, a newcomer just entering society, fortunate enough to have gained the boss's favor by being invited to accompany them to social engagements. It should have been my privilege. I worked myself to the bone, drinking with clients until my stomach bled, all to earn more money and provide Ava with a better life. Rushed to the ER, left alone for an foredrip, I mustered the strength to call her only to hear a man's voice on the other end. "Oh, I'll let her know." Ava hastily arrived and immediately started with complaints and accusations. "Why don't you just drink yourself to death? Then I'll have to clean up your mess." The pungent smell of alcohol assaulted my nostrils, not from me, but from Ava. She blamed me for drinking, for not coming home after work, for not caring enough about her. But I drank for work and my career, while she drank to reminisce with Liam about old times. "Ethan, what are you thinking about? Let's get out of the car." Haley's voice pulled me back to reality from my memories. Our colleagues had already gone in ahead, leaving Haley and me lagging a bit behind, following them from a distance. She was like a chirping little bird, animatedly sharing the latest company gossip with enthusiastic gestures. I lowered my head and smiled, then heard a familiar voice at the entrance of the restaurant. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" That was exactly what I wanted to ask. The company dinner notice came abruptly, and the chosen restaurant was over 10 miles from the city center. Why would Eva appear here? Company dinner. Then why didn't you invite me? What right did she have to question me as my girlfriend? When I first joined the company, I was the only one attending every team building event, as she always found excuses to decline. Over time, everyone started to think the girlfriend I spoke of was fictitious, less real than a virtual character. So Haley didn't know about Ava's existence. The young girl wasn't intimidated either, offering a sweet smile and extending her hand in greeting. "Hello, I'm Haley, Ethan's colleague." Haley greeted her with graceful ease, yet her expression turned peculiar, exuding palpable discomfort. Ava's face paled, her hands clenched tightly beneath her sleeves, her nails nearly piercing her own flesh. She refused the handshake, leaving Haley awkwardly frozen in place, and instead demanded in a superior tone, "Ethan, are you two that close?" I stepped forward, positioning myself between them, and said icily, "This is between you and me. Don't drag innocent people into it." Haley was clueless but let me lead her into the restaurant. Only after sitting down did I notice Ava had followed us in. She took a seat without invitation and greeted my colleagues. Just as everyone was speculating about her identity, Ava declared without restraint, "Hello everyone, I'm Ethan's girlfriend." The moment these words were spoken, the private room fell dead silent as everyone exchanged bewildered glances. No one could have expected that the girlfriend I mentioned actually existed. Even more unexpected was plunging into such an awkward situation at our first meeting. Eva proactively proposed several toasts, maintaining a strained smile despite her palpable discomfort in blending in. After 3 rounds of drinks, she was slightly tipsy. Instead of asking why my attitude toward her had changed, she let out a bitter laugh, forcing out glistening tears. "Ethan, you weren't like this before." I set down my utensils and wiped the corners of my mouth with a napkin. "Yeah, and the old you wasn't this desperate either." She had secretly installed a tracking app on my phone, gone through great lengths to find our gathering spot, and even driven over a dozen miles just to catch me cheating. The old Eva would have never stooped to doing such things. Are all women this fickle? When Eva revealed her identity, Haley happened to step out to take a phone call and remained unaware of our relationship. So during the truth or dare session, when asked, "What kind of man do you like?" she buried her head low, trying to hide her flushed cheeks burning with shyness. Haley didn't answer directly, but turned her gaze to me, looking at me with a shy expression. "Oh, I see. So it's Ethan you like." Amidst the crowd's teasing, Ava's facial expression kept changing, and the tablecloth in front of her was almost crumpled to pieces. She stood up first and, with a cold expression, asked me to follow her outside. Yet as time ticked by, I made no move to leave, heartlessly retorting, "If you're feeling unwell, go back first. The boss hasn't left yet, I can't go before him." 6. Burning with shame, Eva pursed her lips tightly, suppressing the sting in her nose as she slammed the door behind her. I paid her no mind. After she left, I actually ate with more relish. By the time we wrapped up, it was already past 1 a.m. The boss had booked rooms at this hotel in advance. Just as I was heading up to rest, an ill-timed phone call stopped me in my tracks. "Ethan, I feel terrible right now. I think I have a fever." After the call ended, a message popped up in the chat box. 1607, the door isn't locked. What kind of trick is this now? Trying to win my sympathy by pretending to be sick? But I'm no knight in shining armor, and she's certainly no damsel in distress. He looks perfectly lively, like he could run a marathon, yet he's clutching his chest and collapsing onto the bed. Ava's fake illness act feels like a clumsy imitation of some performance. This place is remote, with no pharmacies for miles around. Not wanting to deal with the hassle, I simply asked the front desk for some ibuprofen tablets, tossed them onto the nightstand, and turned to leave. Ava called out to me, lifting her chin defiantly. "Ethan, are you really just going to leave me alone like this?" In the past when she fell ill, I would attend to her day and night without undressing, fearing she might come to harm. But where was she when I was sick? Oh, perhaps in Liam's arms. "Ava, you're an adult. You can take care of yourself and you don't need my care anyway." She looked at me in shock. "I don't understand. What do you mean by this? Stop playing dumb. Is this truly amusing to you? Let's break up. I'm serious." Eva could hardly believe these words were coming from my mouth. After all, I had once tolerated all her unreasonable demands just to keep her. Even when the metaphorical green hat was already on my head, I could still persuade myself to forgive magnanimously. Eva had no time to be stunned. Before I could leave, she ran barefoot from the bed and grabbed my arm, tears still shimmering in her eyes. "Ethan, why are you breaking up with me? There has to be a reason." I laughed at her feigned ignorance, and at myself back then. That year, Eva had appendicitis and was admitted to the hospital for an 4 drip. I was on a business trip at the time, so I gritted my teeth and bought a full-price plane ticket to fly back overnight and take care of her. When she was ill, I wasn't by her side. Amid her complaints and accusations, I gradually began blaming myself for everything. That's why I indulged her absurd craving for watermelon in winter, driving through heavy snow to a farm dozens of miles away just to get one for her. The mountain road was muddy and slippery, and I almost died that snowy night. But when I finally ran back clutching the watermelon, I found her already fast asleep in another man's arms. Too much time has passed, and all the details have faded from memory. Only that heavy snowfall of goose feather-like flakes remains deeply imprinted in my heart. Eva didn't need me at all. Sending me away was just to have intimate moments with Liam. Me, rushing around to arrange her hospital admission, nearly getting into an accident while trying to buy her watermelon. I felt like that misfit third wheel. Countless memories flooded my mind like wild beasts, and I sat awake all night in my room. The ashtray was crammed with 2 full layers of cigarette butts. As the morning mist cleared, another new day dawned. The thought of breaking up grew firmer. I walked to Ava's room and knocked on the door. 7, who is it? Came Ava's displeased voice from inside the room. She woke up grumpy, furrowing her brows as she opened the door, only to see me standing there. Her tightly knitted brows instantly smoothed out as surprise and joy flooded her face. Shyly, she threw herself into my arms. I knew you'd forgive me, she exclaimed. But I stiffly pushed her away and brought up the breakup again, dealing her a crushing blow. We're not right for each other. Let's take some time apart, it'll be better for both of us. Eva trembled uncontrollably and said in astonishment, even if I made a mistake, was all the love we shared fake? Why can't you just forgive me? Love is easy, what's hard is mutual love. We did have moments of truly loving each other, but unfortunately, they were too brief. Just like fireworks, they dazzle for only an instant before vanishing without a trace. My encounter with Eva happened on the university campus. She was the star of the school, excelling both academically and in club activities, always at the top ranks, the center of everyone's admiration. She was already accustomed to the feeling of being adored, so when Liam cruelly abandoned her to chase a wealthy heiress and publicly humiliated her, Eva burned with shame and desperation, even toying with the thought of ending her life. Standing on the rooftop, enjoying the breeze and music, I unwittingly became the scapegoat in her revenge scheme against Liam. Eva asked me with reddened eyes, Ethan, would you chase after me? She always carried herself with such superiority, making even requests sound so justified. But someone like me, who admires strong individuals, found myself uncontrollably drawn to her. Fine. In the beginning of our relationship, I felt like insignificant air around her. Over time, affection grew. Even someone as hard-hearted as Ava couldn't help but develop feelings for me through all those little moments. We once loved each other briefly, sharing a beautiful and unforgettable time. Every final exam season, our names would always appear side by side on the honor roll. Classmates jokingly called us the model couple on campus, and she saw me as her greatest academic rival, studying even harder because of it. To stay with Eva, I gave up my first-choice university and applied to the school she wanted to attend. We were inseparable, attending club activities together and striving for our future side by side in the library. Right after graduation, we faced job-hunting setbacks together, only to return to our shabby rented room where we'd lie down and gaze at the ceiling, dreaming aloud about the future. Yet all of this was effortlessly shattered by Liam's sudden appearance. When he abruptly stood before Eva and uttered that long-overdue apology, "I'm sorry," everything had changed. To be honest, 80% of the reason Eva chose to be with me was to spite Liam. In a way, Eva did succeed, because Liam's return wasn't some triumphant homecoming. He'd been cruelly dumped by that rich girl. Unable to afford tuition, he'd dropped out, using his pitiful severance pay to buy a diploma from some shady university. With nothing left to his name, that's when Liam finally remembered Eva. Perhaps it was that lingering resentment she couldn't swallow, but she completely dismissed Liam's peace offering, taking my hand and turning away. But Liam knew her too well. He applied for a job at Eva's company, persistently dogging her steps, gradually inserting himself into her daily life under the guise of friendship. Eva found her thoughts constantly pulled toward him, even losing focus during meals. No matter the circumstances, Liam could effortlessly steal Eva away from my side whenever he chose to speak. I don't want to kneel and beg for reconciliation anymore, nor do I wish to spend the rest of my life in endless arguments and compromises. When love has been exhausted, it's time to say goodbye. The moment I actually spoke those two words, it wasn't as unbearable as I'd imagined. Instead, I felt a hint of relief and release. Eva stopped disturbing me and vanished from my life for a while. Until the CPA exam ended, the moment I stepped out of the examination hall, I saw Ava's car parked at the entrance. She got out of the car, smiling and waving at me. "Ethan, I booked a restaurant in advance. Let's go eat to celebrate the success of your exam. The results aren't out yet, and I don't make a habit of popping champagne prematurely. Why must you be so cold? I genuinely want to apologize to you, just one meal, and I'll leave right after, okay?" Ava's tone was pleading, and I couldn't bring myself to refuse, so I agreed to accompany her for one last dinner. It was the same Italian restaurant as always, the same seats as always. The only difference was that this time, she finally didn't stand me up or leave me alone. I treated this meal as a chore, taking just a few bites before rushing to leave. Ava stopped me, pushing a dessert in front of me and pleading for me to finish this tiramisu before leaving. Just as I took a bite, my teeth encountered an unidentified hard object. Frowning, I pulled it out and realized it was a man's ring, leaving me momentarily stunned. This was actually rather ridiculous. Was she proposing to me? Ava's eyes gleamed as she took out the flowers she had prepared early that morning, getting straight to the point. "Ethan, I admit I messed up before. Will you marry me?" "No," I replied without the slightest hesitation. "It's over between us. Don't you think this is all rather pointless now?" Eva's gaze gradually dimmed as she chased after them in her high heels, only to twist her ankle and collapse to the ground in uncontrollable sobs. I didn't look back, simply waved down a taxi and went home alone. By the time Eva returned, the luggage had already been packed and was waiting by the front door. She didn't come back alone, Liam was following close behind her. 9. Ava shut him out, rushing inside to explain things to me. Ethan, I twisted my ankle and couldn't walk properly when I ran into Liam outside, so he just helped me get back. Please believe me, okay? But since we're already nothing to each other, does it even matter whether I believe you or not? I ignored her words, piled the luggage by the door, and met her gaze calmly. A while ago, I was busy with exams and couldn't afford to be distracted by other matters. Now that I have time, let's settle this once and for all. Liam squeezed through the door crack, eyeing the luggage by the entrance with undisguised sarcasm in his voice. Oh, so you know to move out on your own. At least you're still a man. Ha, me? I pointed at myself, feigning confusion. I'm not the one moving out, she is. Everything's packed, so please leave. When I first got the job, my meager salary barely covered my car payments, leaving me struggling to make ends meet. To fulfill Ava's dream of settling down in New York, my parents withdrew the savings they'd set aside for my wedding to help with the down payment. We only added her name to the property deed to give her peace of mind. This is my home, why should I be the one to leave? Absolutely preposterous. Liam's temple veins bulged as he stubbornly raised his chin, ready to defend her honor. Just as the fist was about to strike me, before I could even react, Ava stepped between us. Liam's raised fist froze midair when Ava unexpectedly slapped him across the face. Dazed by the blow, he muttered in disbelief, You actually hit me? In his mind, Ava was nothing more than a harmless little lamb, a fragile woman in need of protection and affection. He never expected that even a cornered rabbit would bite. Furious, Ava pointed at Liam's nose and snarled, Get out, leave. This is between the two of us, no outsider has any right to interfere. Fine, I'll go. Don't you dare regret this. He spat out the threat before slamming the door behind him. Ava's voice choked with sobs as she kept apologizing to me. I'm sorry, Ethan. I was wrong. I shouldn't have done so many things that hurt you, shouldn't have turned a blind eye to your sincere feelings, and shouldn't have kept that lingering connection with Liam. I shouldn't have stood you up every time, shouldn't have been so petty as to misunderstand your relationship with colleagues. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. She bowed her head, silent tears falling to the ground, yet unable to pierce my heart. She had always known that her actions would hurt me, but she did it anyway, because she felt secure in the knowledge that I would never leave. Until the moment I proactively suggested breaking up, with a resolve so firm it was beyond redemption. Ava would regret it. I ignored her, but that only made her wilder. She lunged at me and grabbed my pant leg. I know you don't like Liam. I'll delete his contact right now and never see him again. I swear, please believe me, okay? Give me one more chance, I'll make it up to you. I shook my head lightly. Our issues aren't that simple. I don't love you anymore, and I won't force myself to stay with you. Please go, and stop pestering me. Ava collapsed to the ground in agony. I wanted nothing more to do with her, so I walked straight into the room, choosing to avoid the situation. Half an hour later, the crying in the living room ceased, followed by the heavy slam of a door. Ava left, leaving the car keys on the dining table as she departed. There was also a note that read, I'm sorry. I crumpled the note into a ball and threw it into the trash can along with those old faces and past events bundled up and discarded, vanishing completely from my life. 10. The days after the breakup only grew smoother and more prosperous. Free from the troubles of love, I threw myself entirely into my work. Through promotions and raises, I steadily climbed the career ladder until I reached the position of project team leader. The only woman left in my life is Haley. If there are any others, they would just be my female colleagues at the office. After work, she asked me out for a trip, with Cancun as our destination. Ethan, I saw your likes on social media. Turns out I want to visit that place too. How about we go together? It'll be nice to have company on the trip. I understand Haley's feelings for me, but right now I only want to focus on improving myself. My heart isn't in investing time in relationships, nor do I want to hold her back. The only way is to gently turn her down without causing hurt. Sorry, I've been putting all my money into mortgage payments lately and really can't spare any extra right now. Next time for sure. Haley knew better than to press further. When I said next time, she actually believed there would be a next time. The next morning, the boss suddenly announced a piece of news. The company is footing the bill for a trip to Cancun. A colleague patted me on the shoulder, their eyes practically popping out of their head in shock. Is there really such an incredible coincidence in this world? Haley just invited you yesterday, and today the boss announces a company-funded trip. Haley gave us a mischievous grin. I just got lucky, that's all. Do more good deeds usually, and you'll have the same luck. I shook my head with a smile. Actually, you're the boss's daughter, aren't you? This is the young miss personally coming down to observe the common folk, right? Now it was her turn to be shocked. How did you know? I thought I kept it completely hidden. Haley had indeed concealed it flawlessly. Little did she know I majored in criminal justice in college. As for why I suddenly changed careers and applied for this completely unrelated job position, everything ultimately traces back to youthful naivety, when I became love-struck for Ava. At no cost to myself and with colleagues from the company accompanying me, I happily agreed to the Cancun trip without worrying about gossip behind my back. The secret exposed, Haley actually felt a wave of relief and became much more at ease around me. Alright, then I'll come pick you up downstairs at your place later, don't you dare turn me down. I smiled wryly and replied, alright. 3 days later, as I hauled my luggage out the door, I happened to run into my new neighbor. I heard he's an eccentric fellow who spared no expense to move in here, paying a hefty sum to make the neighboring tenants relocate and covering their exorbitant breach of contract fees, all just to settle in himself. Even though curiosity gnawed me, I don't have the bad habit of prying into others' affairs. While passing by his wide-open door, I kept my gaze strictly forward as I carried my luggage. Unexpectedly, the female neighbor came out specifically to greet me. "Hi, I just moved in," she said, extending her hand towards me. I turned my head, and the moment our eyes met, I couldn't help but freeze. I never would have guessed that the rumored tenant, said to be brain-damaged, simple-minded, and ridiculously wealthy, was actually Ava. 11. I wasn't in the mood to shake hands with her and coldly left a remark before entering the elevator lobby. "You're really crazy," Ava protested, chasing after and blocking the elevator door with her body. "I must have been insane to not cherish you properly and let you slip away from me. I know you can't accept me, I just want to stay by your side as a friend. This is the result of my careful consideration. Ethan, moving here was truly my only option. Every individual is a unique being, and no one deserves to sacrifice everything for others." The Ava I loved was forever topping the honor roll, gleaming like a star on stage, radiating such arrogance she seemed untouchable, never admitting defeat. "Not like this, reduced to madness and obsession for love's sake. Ava, have some self-respect. Unless you want me to disappear overnight, to vanish where you'll never find me, let go. Now." Eva froze for a moment before hurriedly stepping out of the elevator. As the doors slowly closed, I caught sight of a single teardrop tracing down her cheek. When the elevator doors opened again, Eva came panting toward me, her face flushed crimson with exertion. For someone who grew breathless running half a mile, she'd somehow raced against the elevator and climbed 16 flights in one go. "It seems human potential knows no bounds. Where are you going?" "The company-organized trip. Ethan, I want to pay my own way to accompany you." The once proud and arrogant Ava had long disappeared, replaced by nothing but humility and regret in her eyes. "But I won't look back anymore." 12. Happy times always pass in a flash. After the trip, I resumed my routine work as usual. Faced with Haley's kindness, I no longer rejected her outright. In my spare time, I even agreed to accompany her for strolls around the night market. Haley held takoyaki in her left hand and pearl milk tea in her right, beaming like a little sun. She carried an energy and innocence beyond her years, which gradually rubbed off on me, bringing an unconscious smile to my face. Haley suddenly received a phone call and had to go home. She firmly refused, but before she could speak, I proactively took the phone from her. "Boss, she'll be right back." After hanging up, Haley looked at me with guilt, hesitating as if she didn't know how to speak, like a child who had done something wrong. "Let me take you home." "No need, you should head home. I'll just grab a cab. I owe you this time, I promise I'll make it up to you." I smiled and nodded, watching her leave before strolling alone through the night market. The night market felt out of place in this bustling metropolis, radiating its own unique vibrancy. This was a place Eva would never have set foot in before, but I never expected to run into her here. The street erupted with harsh shouting as Liam yanked Eva's arm violently, refusing to let her go. At this hour, most street vendors had already packed up and gone home, leaving very few people lingering on the streets. The avenue was eerily empty, it would be impossible for them not to notice me. Just as I considered pretending nothing had happened and turning to leave, Eva's plea for help sounded behind me. "Ethan, save me." She suddenly mustered boundless energy, clinging to my arm like a drowning woman grasping at a lifeline. I glanced down at the red swelling on Eva's arm and barely had time to react before Liam punched me. Now that I'm striking back, it should count as self-defense. Feeling blood trickle from the corner of my mouth, I stopped hesitating and effortlessly knocked him to the ground. Liam writhed in pain on the floor, howling miserably, still struggling to get up even when death was staring him in the face. His gaze was drawn to the speeding truck, and when he looked back at me, an unusual light flickered in his eyes. "Ethan, go to hell." I had no time to dodge, watching helplessly as that vehicle came closer and closer. Amidst the blinding high beams, fragmented memories kept flashing before my eyes. Boom, everything was over. 13. When I woke again, the pungent smell of disinfectant flooded my nostrils, the white ceiling filling my vision. The nurse was changing the 4 bag, patiently repeating all the precautions to me. "Someone happened to mention the person who saved me. Thankfully your wife shielded you with her own body. You only have a minor concussion, you'll recover in a day or two." My head throbbed violently. The last scene before the car crash froze in my memory, Eva shielding me with her body. Time after time, she's the one who hurts me. And time after time, she's the one who saves me. I shook my head slightly. She's not my wife. Out of humanitarian concern, I still asked another question. How is she doing now? The nurse hesitated for a moment before comforting me. "You're not fully recovered yet, don't think too much. Focus on recuperating first." From her evasive words, I seemed to understand something. After finishing the 4-drip, I could finally get out of bed. Through the glass of the ICU ward, I saw Ava lying there unconscious. She was wearing a hospital gown, her head and chest wrapped in thick layers of bandages. Upon checking with the nurse, I learned that Ava had suffered severe injuries after being hit by a truck while saving me. Several of her ribs were broken, and she remained in a coma. Liam had already been arrested by the police and was charged with attempted murder, facing a long prison sentence. Although he was still desperately trying to appeal, it was merely a final struggle, nothing that could turn the tide. When I was discharged from the hospital, I left behind a bank card containing the savings I'd accumulated over the years. Consider it repayment for Eva sacrificing herself to save me. I left the money at the nurse's station and asked them to pass it on to Eva. With no next of kin, the nurses had no choice but to keep my contact number. A few days later, a hospital called Eva had woken up and wanted to see me one more time. If she hadn't pushed me away, I'd be the one lying in that hospital bed now. I closed my laptop and leaned back in my chair with a long sigh. Alright, I'll be right there. When I saw Ava again, I finally asked the question that had been weighing on my heart. Why did you save me? So you could repay me, with yourself. The air froze in that moment, sinking into boundless silence. Stop joking around. Eva's eyes rimmed red as she tried to grasp my hand, accidentally tugging at her wound and sucking in a sharp breath of pain. Ethan, I know I realized it a bit late, but can you give me one more chance? Let's start over? I gazed at her calmly for a long while. Under Eva's hopeful gaze, I once again extinguished that rekindled flame. Do you remember that unfinished basketball game? My thoughts were dragged back several years. It was my first encounter with Ava, and the moment Cupid's arrow struck my heart, I was sweating buckets on the court while she cheered as part of the dance squad during halftime. The match was at its peak when suddenly the arena lost power, plunging us into pitch-black darkness. My last college soccer game was abruptly halted, and to this day remains unresolved. Perhaps not everything in this world demands a definitive conclusion. Life goes on as usual. I won't let romantic entanglements hold me back either. Whether there's an ending or not doesn't matter much to me anymore. The end.